Yay! And here we are. And where are you, Susan? Tell us everything.
I am in the wilds of Delran, New Jersey, suburban Delran, New Jersey, which is pretty close to Philadelphia. And I have embarked upon my last run of the day, which I intend to be a half marathon, but technically only needs to be 11 miles for me to reach my original goal. So I have my shins a little angry, so I'm going to evaluate as I go.
It makes sense. What's made your shin angry? I mean, other than say, Andrea says hello, by the way.
Hi, Andrea. Okay, the thing I think has made my shin angry, believe it or not, is walking.
No, I do believe it. I mean, I had a piece about that a while ago that I need to revisit back on the blog. And the shin is a little muscle and the stop-start motion. I've told people if you can slow down, that's infinitely better, especially in a race situation, than walking and jogging and then walking and jogging again. And the reason being is that the stop-start motion will overload the shin and it makes it harder to start again each time until your shin's just like, F you, quit it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. And as I mentioned to you offline, walking is sort of my emotional refuge when things get difficult. And so the idea that walking isn't quite, it's fine right now, but so I have actually set intervals on my watch at different times to run and then like go slower. To catch my breath, just to keep my energy up, Yeah. I have no desire to run fast, but I can hang. So.
Well, this is the sort of thing that we didn't quite make it far enough into the 3 days at the fair ultra training with people, which we will do again gratis whenever we're able to actually do the event. We'll just restart from the beginning. But this is one of the things that is harder to articulate. But what I wanted people to get out of the series of dawn runs, which sounds terrible because that's exactly what it is. I want you running at dawn and at dusk every day for minimum 2 weeks. And it's not about the duration as much as it is learning the temperature differences before the sun rises and after the sun's up. I mean, it shifts, and it shifts one way in the morning and a different way in the evening. And how that feels is exacerbated by how tired you actually are. And the second thing that no one ever really gets until they're in it, we have a very static view. I am brunette. I could change that. I have gray. I could change that. I am like, as though our bodies are things that don't change ever over time. And nowhere is this more evident with, oh, I pronate. Oh, I like stability shoes. I'm like, okay, fine. But if you are doing one thing, even with lots of stops and starts, what you need in the first few hours might not be what you need 24 hours later when you're doing an event like this. So I'd be very surprised if people, I'm not saying you got to go out and buy 5 pairs of shoes to get through the event. I'm not saying that at all. But, maybe when your hips are getting tired, you might want more support in your arches that'll go up the kinetic chain, or maybe you want a stability shoe at this point of the day where you're in, Susan. I don't know, but it's more about identifying what changes when I'm really tired and I'm doing things I don't normally do, because this is the only way we can be sure that there's nothing new on race day.
Right. And to go back to what you said about doing the 2-a-day runs, I concur wholeheartedly. Doing that last year with you made all the difference. And I had friends who I was training with, and they're like, oh, I just really don't have the energy. I just don't want to do that run. And, I have the luxury. I don't have a full-time job. So, it's a little bit, I get it. It's hard. But I think people are kidding themselves if they think it doesn't make a difference if you don't do that.
It does. Well, there's just information, and this is how I truly look at everything. And if you are new to this program and you're new with me and you're in build, hi, you're going to hear me say this a lot. If you can separate yourself from the outcome and reserve judgment, everything you do produces a whole lot of data. So before you take that data and use it to beat yourself over the head with it, and you can use it to learn, like, wow, that run didn't feel good, instead of trying to extrapolate what that says about you or the training or your preparation, to be like, my shin hurt, my foot hurts. When I get really tired, my shin hurts. Let's think about what causes that breakdown and what I can do to mitigate the pain in order to keep going. That's it. Or like, wow, I felt just as soon as the sun set, I was shivering, and because if you're doing this for the first time, there are 3 things that can make you shiver. And I'm glad Dr. Andrea is a doctor, y'all, so she can back me up on this. There are 3 things that'll cause your body to shiver like that. Your core temperature is changing, which is unlikely to be what's happening in this situation. Your blood sugar dropping, which is highly likely to be happening in that situation. Especially and then that'll be exacerbated by the sun going down, that warmth element taken away. And you're tired, so your pituitary gland is kind of like, and homeostasis is getting harder and harder to regulate because everything in your body wants to shut down. It's not that this is a dangerous place to be, but rather awareness. When I'm really tired, I get really cold. When other people get really tired and their legs start to sweat. So by the time your blood sugar is low, it's too late for us to really do much about it, because it takes about 20 minutes to sort of, this is not like giving a diabetic orange juice and that big stain and steel magnolias, if that's the only pop culture frame of reference that you have for blood sugar issues. By the time that we've realized that your blood sugar is too low, and that's what's causing the shiver because you've been falling behind in your caloric intake, it's really too late to do very much for it other than pull you off the course, warm you up, let you take a nap, and then put you back out again, which can be really demoralizing if you've waited all day for that cool evening where you thought you were going to shine and soar. So I tell you that to say this, there's a lot of good that can come out of it. Even if you could just do 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, you're getting the information you need.
Yeah, even a walk. And I know I can come off as being kind of judgy about these things, like, oh, you should have done that. But I really do get it. And I think there's a lot to be said for separating, can I do this? I might not really want to do it, but can I do it? And can I call it, can I bring an audiobook with me and say I'm actually reading? Or I don't know.
I don't know. I forget how many people we have that are making comments right now. Amy Wilson is the trauma. It's a trauma nurse. What was the certification you got recently, Amy? That was a really big deal that I should remember, and I don't because I'm garbage. I'm sorry, but I know Andrea is a doctor. I know Amy is like some super baller nurse. I think I'm pretty sure that's the designation, super baller nurse. That's exactly what she got. And
Amy is a baller who's been running with me virtually this weekend, and I just love her to death. And everybody else, I've just loved seeing updates that everybody's doing. So anyway, go on.
How much money have you raised so far?
I meant to check that. We're somewhere around $800, I think.
Close to 800. And just so everyone knows, if you're watching this, that it's not too late to make a donation. If you make a donation through Susan's Facebook link, we'll see it. You can be entered for a whole bunch of prizes. If not, if you can make your donation to alloptions.org and forward the receipt to info@fitnessprotection.com, and we will enter you in the drawings for all the cool stuff that Susan is giving away for her birthday. Plus, my family will be matching every donation made up to $1,500. So we got more money to go, y'all. Don't leave it on the table.
Yep.
So
it's been last year was an awesome birthday, but this is a pretty good way to have a birthday during a pandemic.
I'm just saying, happy birthday, dear Susan, just needs to be a thing from now on.
I think so. I like it.
Born at a really good time. Well, how much longer do you have to go out? Well, we'll check in with you again before we end the broadcast. How many miles left?
Okay, you can try. Maybe. I might be in a really dark place by then, but you can try. I'm kidding. I won't be. You can tell by talking to me that even though I'm complaining about a few things, I am together. So
okay, dokie.
I learned that from you, Coach. So.
Love you, Susan. Well, I'm happy to pull you off the screen, but leave you in the stream so that can pull you back up that much more easily. But if you're like, no, I need to check out, then I'll try to ping you closer to we're winding it up, or I'll have Aaron ping you.
Yeah, I think I need to check out because I do want to actually run.
Do it
for a while, and I want to conserve my battery too. So
I totally get that. Let me show you. This is how much my life has changed, Susan, right? I had to go get a little battery pack that I can run with so that my son can catch Pokemons with my phone. So
you got to do it.
Mom's got a mom. And today was Carvanha Day, the little sharks. So we had to go catch shark. We had to go shark fishing with Pokemon and my battery pack because this is my life now. But it's a good one.
I love it so much. I love that he loves Pokemon. I love hearing about it.
It's any game that could keep my kid outside for 5 hours solid is a game worth playing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a gift from God.
Yep.
Take it.
Absolutely.
Yay. Well, we'll check in with you. Good luck. Keep going. And if whoever finds the donation link first, if you can throw it in the chat for everyone, that'd be amazing.
So let me interrupt you. I'm sorry. So actually I set up a private event from my Facebook page. If you and I are not friends, but we have a mutual friend, you can ask a friend to invite you, or you can, send me a friend request and I'll check them later. So, and then you can see everything that's happening.
I love it. There's a lot going on in there, and I'll take it. I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you. Happy birthday, dear Susan. What a big weekend.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have fun.
Whew. Gonna have fun tonight because let me tell you, we got a whole bunch of questions here, y'all. A whole bunch. Yay. This is Coach MK. I'm the founder of the Fitness Protection Program, and this is our weekly check-in with Ask Away. It's an opportunity for everyone in all of my programs to ask me questions at once. Reason being, when it comes to fitness protection, the way things work, and the only way it can work efficiently if this program is going to grow and this company is going to grow the way that I want it to, you have a coach in your Facebook group that and will take questions on a daily basis. That is the fastest way to get a question answered. The second option to get a question answered is to go into the heart rate training Facebook group. It is uncoached. It is just sort of a big group. Anyone who's ever trained with me or wants to learn more about it is in this group, and I think there are about 115 people in there. And you can go and ask a veteran or one of our coaches, whoever answers it first. It's like throwing it out there to see. By the way, I wanted to have a place where everybody in all of my programs could meet and talk to each other and maybe talk about the programs and not have to worry about me sort of looking over their shoulder or feel like they're performing for me when they talk. And this is what that space truly is. So you can go in there and get a question and get a question answered. And then finally, the other way to get a question answered is to throw it into the Google form where I will address it here. If you can't join in us live, it's not a big deal. We release these in podcast form as soon as we are able to. It's usually in the next day or two because our podcast editor is amazing and wonderful and we love her. So thank you for all the work that you guys do. If you like the podcast, please do take a minute to rate it. It means a lot to us. It especially means a lot to the person editing it who does this on a volunteer basis. Chrissy is wonderful. And if you could throw something in there or just podcast@coachedandloved.com. If you could just send her a note and tell her what you like about the podcast or just thank her for the work she does, that would be really great. I try to thank her as much as I can, but nothing it will speak. Nothing is better or going to get to her more than someone like you reaching out and telling her what it is exactly that you like and appreciate. Because that's, again, when you're not getting paid for your work, this is the sort of thing you live for. If you could do that for Chrissy, that would be fantastic. Podcast@coachedandloved.com. Also, other things that we're looking for, if you would like to be on the podcast, we've got 2 episodes that we're going to be filming in the next week or 2. The next installment of Runner Safety, running while overweight. I'm excited about this one because most of the information that people like to give you about running being bad for you, it gets worse, more asinine and nastier the larger a body you happen to be running in. So we want to collect voice notes from you and hear what advice have you been given, if ever you've been in a larger body or heard advice given to a larger runner, things that they need to be cognizant or aware of, things like why running can be dangerous for larger bodies. We're going to take that. We're going to dismantle all of those notions and prove, hopefully, that the biggest danger to running while overweight is all the people around you, diet culture itself, and the things that people have been led to believe. It's going to be a really fun podcast. I've recently joined the American Society for Size, Diversity, and Health. I've been introduced to really just incredible people, doctors who are aware of fat phobia and misogyny in medicine and who are working really hard to dismantle that at an institutional level. And we're going to be bringing some of them on the podcast to talk about even some of the problematic statements that you may even be hearing from doctors and why that's so. So there we go. That if you have experience with this and would like to share it with us and put it on the podcast, take a voice memo, record it on your phone, and email it to podcast@coachandlove.com. If you don't want us to use your name, you can tell us that too. Doesn't really, like, we will, this is up to you, and you have some editorial control over it. We're not going to throw a bunch of personal information out without your consent. The second thing that we are getting ready to film, I'm really excited about this one. Our sponsored athlete, Cade Schultz, is getting ready for his bottom surgery. Cade is a transgender athlete who loves talking about his experience, and we're sort of on this journey with him. So in the last, we recently interviewed him and another transgender athlete named Isaac on our podcast, and it was a very, very, very good podcast, but there are a lot of questions still sort of left out there. What does this look like? What do you mean? His appendage, the moment I realized that we needed to have an actual podcast about this was Cade posting that his appendage had arrived in the mail. Which prompted someone to DM me with a screenshot and say, is it like a nudicle? And I was like, did you just ask me if Cade has a in the box? Yes, he does. And I just burst out laughing and was like, we don't know. No one, these are the details that make it interesting. That, well, I mean, not like it isn't interesting, but even if you like have strong opinions about it, then you might still have questions. So to be a fly on the wall in this conversation, I think could be a really cool one, because Cade and I have known each other for a long time and we're very comfortable talking about even ridiculous things. Cade is even more open than I am on all things. So it's going to be a fun conversation. So if there is something and if you think about it, when you go on a run with your friends, the brilliant and wonderful thing about a running community is that it is usually, for many of us, definitely for me, it is safe and separate from the rest of my life. Most of my people in my run groups don't work with me, don't have kids in the same school as mine. Like, our social circles are more like, there's no Venn diagram. They're just two concentric circles out there that don't intersect at all. And there's something really lovely about that and free. So I can have conversations once a week. This is when people say running is like therapy. You are free to be who you are, say what's on your mind and heart, and not have to worry about it coming back to bite you in the rest of your week. It really is almost like church in that regard. And I love it. And so, but we also tend to have really different conversations on a very much more granular and detailed level on runs than we do in any other parts of our life for that reason. So get ready to have a really rollicking podcast where we have the conversation you always wanted to have, asking all the questions you've ever wanted to ask when someone in your run club is changing genders. What does that look like? What's the process? Do these things really come in the mail? And where's Cade at the moment? So if you have any questions, if you heard that first podcast and there are questions in your mind, send them to me and I will work them in, mk@fitnessprotection.com. And we'll be putting out a call in all the Facebook groups, inviting everyone to submit questions for that podcast. But again, it'll be, feel free to ask anything you want. Kate, like I said, I'm really open. Kate's really open. We're here to educate and frankly have fun with it, because when these subjects are brought up, it's brought up from like, if you must support it without questions, but the questions are the fun part. So we're going to have fun and we're going to ask a whole bunch of questions and have a really great conversation to share with everybody. Yeah. Oh yes. Andrea, I would love to hear your thoughts on the language around body size and health and medicine. I would love to have you included in any way, shape, or form. Get your thoughts down, send them to us. And if there's more that you want to say that you could fit in a voice memo, we'll find a way to work in podcast too. That would be amazing, because you were really terrific in the last one. That was a real joy. So my hook is that we're never really talking about the running, and at our level, my level, recreational running, where what we do does not have anything to do with our ability to pay the mortgage or keep our health insurance, then we're probably talking about our identity amidst the pressures of diet culture and hustle culture. Diet culture says that everything you do needs to make your body smaller. So if you're running and you're not losing weight, then what's it for? And hustle culture will kind of tell you the same thing, because hustle culture is this notion that everything you do has to be productive, and each time you do has to be better than the time before, because you're not improving. What's it for? And it takes but these two ideas put so much downward pressure on the things that we do that it makes it really hard to celebrate what we've actually done and see how far we've actually come. And part of my role in this world is to make sure that no runner overlooks their own badassery amidst both pressures combined. And I hear that a whole lot of people get validation here that they don't get anywhere else, or at least don't get it as forcefully as they will get from me, which is why I'm committed to doing this once a week. So while we try to claim a space for ourselves in a sport that's also a hobby, that's also a common attempt to rewrite our personal narratives after children, during career changes, during transitions, some that we would ask for, others no one in their right mind would ever ask for, fitness protection is here for absolutely all of that. Because most of the people that you work with here weren't competitive athletes, even in junior high, never at all. Maybe they played a sport at one point, but not really. They certainly were not ever, they might have dreamed about going to the Olympics, but did not actively pursue it, and or that didn't feel like a very realistic thing. Or they're in the pipeline. Most of my runners don't think that they look like runners despite logging 30 to 50 miles every single week. Most took up running later in life, during some sort of transition that they needed to run through, or needed the reliability of the run community that I just described. And my client base ranges from 19 to 86 years old, and that is in fitness protection alone. I'm not talking private clients. People in this program are from between the ages of 19 and 86 with a mean age of 51. So fun stuff. I love this group. I love coaching you guys. You are easy to coach and even easier to love. And if you're here, that is proof positive that you're winning at life and making good choices. Take it on. So we're going to start with the weekly wins in Runner Interrupted. Carrie Senegan is graduating. Yay, Carrie! She's getting her associates in engineering technology. She is also a Pokemon guru, so if you have questions, throw them at Carrie. She loves it. Just kidding. I don't know. I throw all my questions at Carrie. I don't know if she loves it, but she's always polite enough to answer. Jennifer Wolf has discovered that she really likes working from home. Cool. You know, there are a few things about working from home that I'm hoping will change over time. One of them is this idea that if you're working from home, you're not really working, or that if you're working from home, that your day is shorter and somehow more efficient, and both are a lie. Because even if you're not doing stuff around the house, there are times I come in here at like 8 a.m. and I think I'm just going to fire off a quick email, and it'll be 1 o'clock and I haven't had breakfast or lunch and I'm still on my desk. That never happens in a working environment because there's always somebody stopping by to talk to you. You have stopping and starting cues. All of that is kind of ripped away from you when you are working from home. And that's something I've had to wrap my brain around for the past few years and change the way that I do. So I was ready for this before we got here because I had to work all this stuff out a long time ago. And it's, you know what? I dig it. I really, really dig it. It works for me. And anyone, I know it doesn't work for everyone. I know there's a lot of stress right now, but I certainly hope that you're able to find some sort of respite amidst all the chaos. And if part of that is, hey, you know what? Working from home doesn't suck for me, and I think I want to do that more. Yay, you. I would just tell you to be really careful with it and make sure you have stopping and starting cues that remind you to eat, to move, and to get around. And by moving, I really don't want that. Please don't let that stopping and starting cue be in your Garmin or your Polar. I like to turn that off. This is like time to move, as though you've been still for too long. I really hate that. I mean, it's nice. Again, maybe it can be more helpful to break things up if you're sitting in one space without moving from 8 to 1. At the same time, the numbers in there are kind of bollocks. 10,000 steps a day is an arbitrary metric that's based on not made up science, but I mean, it's a good theory. It's not terrible, but it also isn't useful. I am, as a person who really loves math and numbers and logic and analysis, I love logic more than I like math, to be honest with you. Logic is a tangential to math, and logic that includes numbers is usually mathematical. But logic is much more my thing. And I've seen how good ideas and good logic can be soured the second numbers come into the equation, pun intended, or enter the picture. So I tell you that to tell you this, wherever you kind of are right now, whatever metrics that you're using to judge it are probably made up and tell you absolutely nothing. So embrace where you are and try not to worry about where you should be, because where you think you should be, it's shaming to live in the should. Wherever you think you should be could be as made up as that 10,000 steps per day notion. My watch told me earlier, like, woohoo, congratulations, you met your activity goal. And I'm like, what is that talking about? I ran 10 miles yesterday and walked 5. I walked 4 miles today and ran 6. And how in the world did I run 6, walk 4, and only just meet my activity goal 10 minutes ago? That's bizarre. That's what, having already done more motion in a day than anyone else. Is that good logic? Is that good math? Is that science? I don't know. I think it might be maybe just maybe it's an algorithm that sounded really good when it was laid out, but is saying, well, you should move more today than you did yesterday. Again, nonsensical. So just because it exists does not mean that it ought to exist or that you ought to be making choices around it. So you do you. 10,000 steps, my butt. Build. Patricia Luna is happy to be seeing some improvements in both her pace and how she feels on the run. Yay! Those are the things that I really care about more than anything else. In a sport that is also a hobby, that is also an attempt to rewrite a personal narrative sometimes later in life, I am aghast at the continual focus that everyone is internalized on pace, mileage. And I'm like, it's bizarre. Because even with the doctors, and if you're a doctor listening to this, if you're or a nurse, because nurses know a whole lot of stuff too. God, I love nurses. Nurses led me to the best doctor that I've ever worked with. If you want to know who the good doctors are, ask a nurse. But the shoot, I forgot what I was saying. Doesn't matter. Oh yes, the metrics of health. So when health has become coded language for losing weight or getting smaller, I just wanted to get healthy. What does that mean? If you can't tell me what that means, do not say that to me ever, because I will come at you like a spider monkey. As someone who had to grow up around this stuff, taking blood pressure with my dad in the morning, watching him log it in his little books, resting heart rate drop, the average heart rate of return, how quickly does your heart respond before, during, and after exercise to various stimuli, how much oxygen, what is your oxygen uptake, and how well are you able to metabolize it with no... I mean, because when you're dealing with coaches, like, shoot, you can call me all the names you want. Be like, I actually like 150. That's fine. Cool. When you're dealing with cardiologists, you don't get that. So we didn't have the luxury of yelling and moaning and making faces about 140. Not to say that Patricia or anyone else here has, but in the past, there's been a lot of pushback that first time you put on a heart rate monitor, it slows people down enough that they go, what is this? And they're scared that they're going to lose their speed. And there's nothing I can do, no metric I can throw out there. It's like that will prove to them that they're in fact becoming healthier. I got a blood draw for the first time and they found a vein just like that. Never happened before. That is a sign of health. That's a marker of health. Yes, but I'm not getting faster. Oh my God. So, but I thought you were here to get healthy. I am, but I'm not faster. And I'm like, those are two different notions. Performance is the opposite of health. I said this in a podcast a couple of weeks ago with the one with Terrell at halfmarathons.net. And I realized, boy, I really, really mean it. we're going to be taking that idea down rabbit holes for weeks to come, talking about what does health look like and what do we really need to worry about, other than if we're going to talk about getting healthy, that I will not tolerate that being coded language for losing weight in this or any other program that I run. Again, not to say that anyone here specifically has yet, but this is the sort of thing that we're going to be codifying and making much more clear on the way in and as we go. You want to lose weight, that's fine. I'm never going to come at you, but it's one thing to say that. It's another thing entirely to try to use that as a metric of health. I'm just here to get healthy. What does that mean? Lose weight? Not the same thing. Two different notions. We're going to talk about what health is and what those ideals mean and what it is to work towards them, and why that only happens when you're jogging and not so much when you're running, when you're sprinting and running at top paces. Robin, she finished her very first avocado toast. Yay, that's a big deal. This is huge because she never thought she could go for 60 minutes. I'm proud of you, Robin. That's amazing. I love getting runners, especially Galloway runners. No disrespect to Galloway. His methods work for so many people. I would never disrespect them in any way, but I love getting people who truly think I can't do this without stopping, and I prove that they're totally wrong. So that makes me really, really happy. Jessica McMays has been focusing on keeping her heart rate down during her runs. She's loving the fact that she feels good and is not sick, exhausted after each run. Man, I'm telling you, that is winning at life. Jogging is running. Not every run needs to be a sprint. I'm really glad this is starting to sink in. I'm going to come in and do a live a little bit after this. It's going to queue you up for the lesson that I'll be emailing to all of the builders tomorrow. Hopefully by this point, you guys have absorbed the silly toes. You've got all 8 moves of the warm-up routine. And, it's going to be a while before those are at really second nature, but they do set you up for success in a really big way. You'll also be getting, I'm going to talk you through penguin kicks. sense. And I'm not going to apologize that you didn't have that on day one. If we threw everything at you on day one, you would drown. And there's nothing I can do that will keep people from feeling behind. So I just sort of put the program out there. You see what we're working up towards, and then we dole out the information bit by delicious bit, hoping that we keep you involved and engaged as we go. And that feeling of I'm behind. If we recognize that there's nothing we can do to get rid of it, then hopefully we can give you the tools to get on top of it over time. So yeah, you're in the main, Andrea, and Kelly Custer Hockenberry. Yay. I'm glad we get cool people in here. The difference in your energy in post running. Yeah. I'm really glad to hear that. Karina's another one who joined us after hearing me on the Half Marathoner podcast. It is really huge. I'd love to say this and I mean it. I truly think that most people who come into my purview had never actually run easy effort before I put a heart rate monitor on them, because everything had been so pace driven when someone who is always, who enjoys fit privilege and has always been on the team and it's always been athletic, maybe it's easier for them to say run easy. But when the rest of us are being pulled into this, there's a whole bunch of assumptions that we have to work with and work around, and that rate of perceived exertion really falls to the wayside. Again, diet culture and hustle culture, work harder and you'll have what you want. There's nothing in the world telling you to slow down and truly reward you for it until you come here. So it's not just you. I'm just saying this is the role in life. Everything that we learned back in the cardiologist office when I was 6 has a purpose. And thank God for that. I thought it was going to be nothing but trauma. Kristen is rocking the guided DIY approach, and she's truly customizing the program and making it work for her where she is in her fitness and life. I love that. I really, really, truly do. I love putting people in a position where here's a plan to follow considered an option. And, having worked with numbers and finance in the past, options have value until exercised or expired. So this is an option. Every workout there is an option to have every day of the month. What do I do? Option 1, option 2, you can't go wrong with avocado toast. And at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is keep active and keep moving and keep as many options open as possible. And the more you move without pressure, the more likely you are to want to move the next day. And the longer you will stay in this really cool sport that's also a hobby, that's also a way to rewrite a personal narrative. Cool. So more wins. Christine Lancaster ran a virtual 5K and felt great at a faster than average pace. Yay, Christine. That's huge. Christine Hahn ran a virtual 19.1. Wow, that's a random number. I want to hear more about that, Renee. Tell me, 19.1. Stephanie Horman ran her fastest mile since joining Fitness Protection. Whoop, whoop. That's amazing. Amy Serbowitz had her first continuous run in months and got a full mile of running in. That's wonderful. Congratulations, Amy. I know how good that feels. Amanda Blockinger Bailey did a great job listening to her body during her long run and honored what it was telling her rather than pushing through and risking injury. Listening to your body is the most advanced thing you can do, and it's not the thing that most runners feel comfortable doing because everything in our life has told us to ignore your bodies and push through and mental strength. So yay for being mentally strong enough to say, F all that. I know what I need to do right now, and I'm going to do that, because that can be the hardest thing in the world to do. That's amazing. Maintain. Happy birthday, dear Susan, who, as you saw at the top of the broadcast, is running 51 miles for her 51st birthday and using her run to raise money for a reproductive health organization called All Options. Now, the All Options actually does provide all options. It starts at the talk line, and this is where Susan works. And I want to make this very, very clear. This is not a political statement. Living in my body is a political statement. I'm going to make plenty of political statements, but supporting this organization that truly does work with women who are in a vulnerable position and aren't sure what to do helps them truly sort through all their options with no agenda and no interest in the outcome. It's that is a really big deal. There aren't enough organizations truly doing this type of work out there. And I've seen the change in Susan since she underwent the training required to work and operate this hotline, because you weren't allowed to get on the phone until you were ready to listen to what a person has to say and maybe guide them in a direction that you don't like. And Susan has really, it sounds kind of condescending to say she's really grown as a person, because who am I to judge that? But the way that she enters and engages in dialogue has really changed. The way that she listens has really changed. She's frankly, I mean, she's a better friend. She's always been a great friend, but now it's the ante's been upped that much more. And when she said it was really from all this training at All Options, I'm like, well, I would do anything. You've done so much to make fitness protection happen. I want to keep making this happen for you and for those who need it. So if ever there's a moment in your day when you feel powerless and you can't make a difference, I want to remind you that you can. Every dime that we raise for events like this, for little bitty nonprofits, this is a teeny tiny one based out of Indiana. My family's providing a matching gift of $1,500. That is, so if she raises $1,500 and we match it, that's $3,000. That is life-changing money for an organization. Volunteerism provide that doesn't make money from visits or from anything. It just really does what a nonprofit is supposed to do, which is fill a gap and help vulnerable people in a time of need determine what their best next step is. Kind of like I like to say we do here at Fitness Protection, but for different choices, obviously. So to that, remember, feel free to make a donation. And if you are thinking of running to raise money for charity, reach out to me. I love supporting this. I love supporting my runners. I love working with nonprofits, and I would love to help you further. Just let me know. So Francine Schaller ran her 50-mile run and finished in under 12 hours. Whoop, whoop. Yes, Francine was running to support Susan, and I loved watching that. I love watching you guys bond over these events. It's cooler than, and if you get faster, terrific. But I just think it's so much more interesting and awesome that there's a shared experience like 3 days at the fair, this fundraiser for Susan that brings people together, than everyone kind of doing their own thing on their own and getting, I ran 3 minutes faster than I did last year. I'm like, okay, that's good. But this is great. This is amazing. There's so much more to running than performance, pace miles. And you miss it. When you miss all of that when all you do is race after race after race without the bonding experiences that can come from offsides events like this that have nothing to do with performance. I love it. There's a time and place for both. There's enough room in the industry and in a very long life for both types of events, but we tend to opt one over the others. And if anything, I'm really excited that this period right now with no races on the calendar might be introducing people to new things, new ideas, and reconnect with running in a way that they've not felt able to or felt encouraged to in the past. Joanne Bristini nailed her 10K. She came in under her goal time and made negative splits. Whoop, whoop. That's amazing. And the negative splits is huge. I'm proud of you. Nicole Wood YOLO the NYRR Brooklyn Half Marathon and felt good enough to take a smiling picture at the end. Please post that picture here in the comments. Tag me in it. I want to see it. Congratulations, Nicole. That's wonderful. That's a really great half. Carissa Hetling completed a 4-hour run. It was hard and she felt like quitting, but she stuck with it and finished. Whew, good for you. That is 4 hours of not momming, 4 hours of not making snacks, 4 hours of not chasing anyone doing distance learning. That is 4 hours of doing whatever the F it is that you wanted to do. And I'm really glad you were able to get that. You were willing to take it. And I hope you celebrated every glorious step of the way. Sarah Seberg completes a 5K with her kiddos. Whoa. And they admitted to having fun. That's huge. I can't wait till I can do that someday. Right now, it's got to be Pokemon with cookies at the end, ice cream at home before I can get people to come out with me. And that is the trifecta with Pokemon, ice cream, and cookies. And ice cream, the cookies are the halfway point, and the ice cream are the popsicles at home. I can't get people out with me. I look forward to the day when they're just like, Mom, I would just love to spend time with you and run. I don't know if that day's ever going to come. And if you got that, good on you. That is goals. You are goals, Sarah. Here we are moving into the questions portion. We're now 40 minutes in. I'll try to move a little bit more expediently. I apologize for that. Starting with rebuild. Just starting back after an entire year away from running. In the last few months, I've become very dependent on Pilates, and I love it. I feel you. I did a lot of Pilates while I was during 4 babies' pregnancy, and the following year that I would rather forget. So right now I'm doing online classes 4 days a week, doing your work in the morning, then Pilates in the evening. Can I continue this schedule? Shoot, I'm fine with it. If you can continue the schedule, by all means, keep going. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going easy and rebuild, which means very, very slow. Perfect. Working on getting used to time on my feet. That is what it's all about. Rebuild is more about the crucial adaptations in your tendons, joints, ligaments, and feet, which can only happen from time on your feet. I don't care about the running time. I care about the adaptation curve. I care about muscle memory, leveraging that and bringing you back into this sport safely. And we can only do that by having you on your feet 5 days a week, even though you won't necessarily be running or even jogging start to finish for all of those days or many of those days. Time on your feet is all that matters. And that is really, that it matters more than anything. A walk is better than nothing. And that is why, because it's your feet and your ankles bearing your body's weight and moving it forward, engaging in locomotion. So that song by Kylie Minogue from the 1980s goes through my head whenever I say that, but that's what locomotion is. Yay, everybody's doing a brand new dance. We can only get them to do it our way. So yes, please continue that schedule. You're getting what you need to get. It never had anything to do with effort or pace. We have to adapt our bodies, our tendons, our joints, our muscles, and get them ready to do this before we can hone for speed. Starting to notice that there's some pretty high heart rate caps for an old lady like me. What? Really? Well, think of it again. So it's a cap, not a target. Unlike the speed limit 65, most people go 70. I'm saying as long as you're under 65, you're fine. But, you know, if you're doing 20 on the interstate, they're going to pull you over. I get that. There's no police here. There's no one's going to tell you that you're going too slow. So yeah, it's a cap, not a target. It's a high cap. But as long as you're underneath that cap on an easy effort run, you are, in fact, adhering to the rule and following the rule. So just continue the question. I certainly don't mind them because it allows me to run longer, but should I cap myself lower? I'm now 67. Yay! You are almost 20 years younger than the oldest person in the fitness protection program. You're a spring chicken. Yes, you are. You embrace it. I love it. Really, you should. After a few weeks of this, I can run about 5 minutes without stopping to walk, and that's much better than what I was doing before. Yay, that's huge. That's progress. All of this is good stuff. So you don't have to get it up to 140. You never need to. So when I say it's a cap, as long as you're underneath it, I will believe that what you were doing was easy effort. Now, if you were coming at me, even if you were 15 and saying, I was at 172 and it felt so easy, I'd be like, child. No, the caps do get higher for younger children. We've got a question about that a little bit further on that I'll address. But broadly and generally speaking, anyone over the age of 25, hang out under 140 to keep it easy. I mean, you can go harder, but you're not getting more out of it. You just aren't. So if you aren't sure, take a look at what feels good and easy to you. For someone at 67, I'd be like, 127 sounds good, 127 to 130. And the difference between 127 and 130 is like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it's minimal and you're not a machine. So it's really hard to sort of nail that with specificity and hang out there. So try the cap of 130 and see if that works for you. And then go take a look at my Facebook page and see that Alphaline Tamiliuk, who is a runner for Hoka 11, the Northern Arizona elite team. She's also won the Olympic marathon and will be representing Team USA at the 2021 Olympics. She did a 20-mile run this morning at altitude in Flagstaff. 20 miles, average pace 6:51, average heart rate 123. That blows my mind. That is fitness. That is world-class fitness. That is not goals for us. If I were giving I don't even give 120 runs anymore because people are like, and want to quit the program. They hate them so much because it slows them down so much. Yes, you will get to a point where you're running, jogging, shuffling, moving, and owning it you saw her heart rate, Laura. I saw it too. I mean, that was just amazing. Just amazing. What I love about it is that in the past, athletes didn't share this type of information, the type of workout they did, where they did it. It was all like secret stuff, which is really dumb because they're all sort of doing the same thing. But, I get it. You don't want anyone to have an edge. But so every once in a while, when we do get a piece of information like this, that gives us an idea of where the pros are at. And that sort of gives context to where we are. So when I say like her jog is my sprint, that there's something really validating about that. That is her jogging at a 6:51 pace at altitude. That is a jog. Jogging is what everyone does. The difference really is just like fitness level and efficiency. They are the fittest people in the world. That doesn't mean we are unfit. It just means they're fitter. And it's not a competition to be the fittest, because what do you get to be? Professional runner doing 20 miles at 6 a.m. at altitude. I don't know. Some people love the idea of that. I kind of like my life as it is right now. But that's because I had Pokemon and ice cream and cookies today. It was pretty great. So yes, I would start for an older person, if it makes you feel more comfortable, start with 130 and see if that works out well for a cap. And if that feels too low or like it's holding you back too much, reach out next week and let me know, but give me a good week of treating 130 as a cap first. I'm trying to catch up by listening to Ask the Coach, and I just found the videos on the Rebuild Facebook page. Yay! Those answer a bunch of my questions. But I listened to one a few minutes ago from March about one of your employees leaving. Did I screw up by emailing her the other day about problems? She was very helpful. You can email anyone you want, but the real question is, why are you emailing questions? Because that isn't what we do here. My email inbox, and again, I say this lovingly, it's the pit of despair. It's the fire swamp from The Princess Bride. Things go in there to die. So anything that is sent to me I get myself in trouble. I really do need another assistant that just goes through my email, but I haven't felt like I need to be there yet, because there's so much, as the founder of the company, there's so much that can only be done by me, that really most questions that can be answered by other people, we've set up infrastructure to make sure that you can get an answer as soon as you need it. And that's never going to happen with email. But the info at Coach and info at fitnessprotection.com. We will be moving that over once we get a little bit bigger. We'd always said when we get to 500 athletes at that point, at 500 subscribers, we would probably then at that point start transitioning, bring in another person to do nothing but monitor the email inbox and take me off of it completely, which makes sense. But right now we're right around 298, 300 paying subscribers. So we're not there yet. It is something that's going to come up in time. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't do anything wrong. But if you're hearing this now as a matter of just don't email things. They're more likely to be lost than found through email. Please try to stick through these channels, the Google form to put questions here and ask away, as well as the daily contact in the Facebook groups. If you are not a Facebook user, the email inbox info at fitnessprotection.com is the fastest way to get an answer from somebody, but it's still not going to be as fast. So yeah, can you show me examples of the Tuesday strength, B stair calf raises, toe fall, band walks, and B calf jumps? Are we doing strength workouts twice through or just once? I encourage everyone to do it twice through if you can, but once is plenty. I apologize that we had all kinds of issues at the end of May trying to upload anything to YouTube, and I don't know why it didn't work, but nothing worked, and it drove me crazy. Part of it is part of having my office mate does a lot of stuff, and we even left things going overnight when no one was working and no one was using Netflix, and still couldn't get the videos uploaded in their entirety. So I can live stream though, and I don't know why live streams work, but uploading has failed me so completely. So I will make an attempt to go through and either live stream in on the YouTube channel. So if you're asking this question, please do like and follow the Fitness Protection Program YouTube channel. We'll put something in there for you. And I apologize that we weren't able to get those up this month. It just didn't work out. So after the first week, we just sort of pivoted and said, you know what? Everyone who needs it already has it. Let's focus on June. And in doing so, we overlooked you. And I want you to hear me tell you how embarrassed and sorry that I am that happened. We had been relatively unscathed from all of the COVID technology stuff. But the last week and a half, longer than that, actually. What day is today? The 17th? Oh gosh, how are we halfway through May? I don't even know. But for the last couple of weeks, we've had lots of outages with the internet that we've never had before. And we've had slow internet that we've never had before. And I guess, you'll figure out YouTube. Thank you. Is that you, Andrea? I am so sorry. I really am. We still have the daily live stream demonstrations going up. So the videos for everything absolutely should be in the Facebook group. But I apologize. I'll try to find one and tag you in it. Or if Erin's watching, she'll find you one and tag you in it. But we're going to figure this out together. I am really sorry. I have never been more embarrassed or flustered than I have, like, as I was onboarding Build, doing all of these interviews, doing the webinars, and like, what do you mean I can't get these files uploaded? Bah! It was like the one thing that has never failed me before had to fail when the first month I had other stuff going on. But whatever, we're still here. Thank you for your patience. I apologize. We're going to try to figure out ways to fail less next month. Maintain. I'd like to have the option to add runs on Thursday and Sunday in addition to the regularly scheduled runs. Yeah, you. Should I use the lower heart rate cap on those days, i.e. 120 or 130, to make sure I'm not overdoing it with 7 days a week? You can. I think that's a wonderful idea if you're willing to and able to. I would do this because go out for a 120 run and see how that works for you. See if you feel like you get what you need out of that. Because the first thing that we have to ask before we do anything, right? I want to add more runs. What do I need to get? What do I need to get? So if this is more time out of the house, I'm with you. Get as much as you can. If this is more alone time or more self-care, yes, let's find ways to make that happen, but not at the sacrifice of the next day. Don't be afraid to walk it too. Pokemon Go is a really great way to kill time, as I've discovered with my children quite silently because they pay no attention to me. I just have to hold them by the back of their necks while we're walking down the road and they're playing Pokemon Go. And I really, I got nothing but love for that game, y'all. I really, really, truly do. But if you've been here for a while, you probably have heard that already, but I really tell you that to tell you this: when you're out there doing something that's all encompassing, like Pokemon Go, we like to go to the park and just walk the inner loop because you can't. People, bikers are going to go around you. You can't walk into traffic. It's a real great way to zone out and not screw up and in the process. So if we could find some way to do that, if you're just looking for a little more self-care, then yeah. Make time to walk, make time to get out, make time to shuffle at 120 or 130. But be really careful if you're doing this for other reasons, like I said in the beginning, to trigger weight loss or for anything other than your mental health. Let's just be real careful to think about that. If there's some sort of arbitrary mileage target that you want to hit on a regular basis, excluding this week being Susan's birthday. So just think about whatever your why is and know that I'm not going to say no to you. But let's make sure that the why is one that is not going to harm you so that this answer doesn't lead you to a bad place. And I'll finish on this note. David Sedaris, Me Talk Pretty one day. He also wrote the Santa Claus Diaries. He's a hilarious satirist, and he wrote this brilliant essay back when Fitbit was coming out, the day he walked a marathon because his Fitbit told him to. And he still didn't reach his step goal for the day, which was something ridiculous like 25,000. And his partner had to sit down and be like, dude, you've been walking 50,000 steps per day, every day for a month now. This needs to end. And he hadn't really questioned it. Why? You who listens to no one, why are you doing what this inanimate object tells you to do? All it does is say, oh, great, you did this much today, do more tomorrow. And there's no end in sight. So I tell you that to tell you this. One, go look that up. It's a brilliant essay. It was in the New Yorker, I think, and it's not a very long read. But the way he parses through that decision matrix in that conversation is one I think every person ought to have when they say, this feels good, I want more. And you're talking to somebody who would run twice a day, 7 days a week, if she could get away with it and her family would support it. So if that's what you want, and I will support you in that. Yes, that sounds like a good rule. Try to keep it lower, but don't be afraid to walk too, because a walk can be the same as and just as good as a 120 run, unless you're Athleen Tamiliuk. Jesus. Hello, coach. Today's question is numb toes. When I used to live in the tropics, my toes would go numb when I ran. I moved to a wider toe box shoe, and as I got into better shape, I started running more miles, and the problem mostly stopped. Living in the UK, I haven't seen this problem since, but recently I have started noticing it again. I'm running in a new iteration of the shoe, which may have a tighter toe. I think it also may be due to heat, as we had a few warm days, but I really wonder, could it be due to extra weight that has been gained in lockdown, or a change in diet, like too much or not enough salt? Could it be to less training, because I'm basically living on 30-minute slow runs? The first thing that this comes from, it comes to my head, is a lot of sitting, and because you're sitting on the sciatic nerve that controls what's going on in your toes. So that could be part of it. Second, there's a strong correlation between anxiety/depression and numbness in toes and fingers. That more often than not, the thing that is considered to be Raynaud's disease is either a reaction to sugar or straight up depression. So that we do have the clinical studies on that. For reference. I don't have them at my fingers right now, so please don't come in the comments and demand it at the second in the middle of the broadcast, but we do have them. So there's a lot that could go into it. One is that your shoes could be tied too tight. I'm getting ready to film something next week with Coach Nakia to introduce this idea of how do you shod your feet and why, and really start parsing that, pulling it apart. Generally, this can happen when, so if it isn't coming from an overstimulated nerve, that originates in your booty, then it could also be coming from having to tie your shoes too tightly because to overcompensate. So if you've got a big squishy shoe and a big thick fluffy sock and your foot is in there not moving around a whole lot, then that can be unnatural and can cause your feet to go numb. And then the final piece about it, I'm less worried about the shoe and more about like the sock plus shoe plus how it's tied combination. That can be a lot. But the real final thing would also be a tightness in your shins, because that could compress the nerves as well, especially in certain positions, and particularly if your shoe is tied too tight. So it's all something to think about. It can't hurt with all of it. I think I posted in Rebuild the other day. I'll see if we can put it on. It's on the YouTube channel. If it's not already there, I'm pretty sure there is one on YouTube. There was me sitting on my bathroom floor in glasses and a muscle shirt, because I wear those so often. And I was showing people how to use this green thing. So I'm making this gesture called the therapist's thumb. You can get them for like $7 on Amazon. And it's sort of a Graston method that you can use to loosen up your shins in a more delicate and specific way than you can with the foam roller. And so that can go a long way to decompressing the nerves that could be shutting down your toes too. So that's the combination I would look at. I'm less concerned about the diet. I'm more concerned about what would be putting pressure either on the nerve itself or on the central nervous system on the whole. This is a really stressful time for a lot of people. It's a particularly stressful time for women who are holding down the fort or stay-at-home dads who are now having to work from home and bear the brunt of childcare at home while supporting a partner who's physically present but not really there, because working at home, you find yourself working more, not less. So there's a lot going on right now. Do be gentle to yourself. And if any of what I just said makes any sense whatsoever, know that keep an eye out for the videos that we're going to do some unpacking and build. And I think some of the things that we're going to talk about could be useful for everyone else as well. And we'll be sharing it all. Okay, so my question is about the rest day. I'm doing 75 to 95% of the maintain plan as written every week, only modifying to shorten a run occasionally if I'm not feeling up to it. Listening to your body is the most advanced thing you can do. And a big gold star for you. In these COVID times, I'm finding I need to move every day. Me too. What is generally okay to do on the Sunday rest day? I'm not looking to add a run, but I want to check in about long walks, easy bike rides, that sort of thing. I say yes to all of it, as long as you're truly going easy. But here's something else to throw, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Y'all probably haven't heard me reference the preppers in my family that I'm married into recently. That if you've seen on the blog #FSpring, that hashtag applied to. There is a 3-part series that I have done in every spring up until now, where I talk about the things that are conspiring against you in spring to make spring suck. It's how I used to talk people out of doing spring races, because I'm like, the odds are not in your favor. It's not going to be what you want. And then we got to pull you out of a mental hole to get you ready for anything in the fall, which is the only time anything good could happen anyway. But everything's around races, and it's hard. It was before now, it was hard to get anyone involved and to stay engaged without a race on the calendar. So I would do a 3-part series: F-Spring Ozone Edition, F-Spring Pollen Edition, and then F-Spring Exposure Edition. So what I'm about to tell you is from the Exposure Edition that I learned from the preppers in the family that I'm married into. Now, these people are hardcore preppers, and you will never meet them because they are that far off the grid. They have a protocol for re-entry. So you survived the apocalypse. What do you do 28 days later when your skin has not seen sunlight, or a year later when you've been breathing reconstituted air and you're going to be reintroduced to all of the things that would have killed bodies or made it hard to thrive, much less survive in the past? You can't just come running out the bunker and go live in the log cabin again. It's their life. You got to come out and get reused to the sunlight again. And if you think about it, the first time most of us big old white people go for a run in the spring with the tank top on, yay, because it comes on really quickly. You go from wearing like bundled up in the winter to wearing a little bit less to from long sleeves to tank tops. And then you get a sunburn. And then you want to be hiding from the sun for the next week or so. That's exposure. So sunshine is fine, wear sunscreen, but don't discount how much effort it is to be in the sun all day long. So I tell you all of that to underscore what my prep relatives imbued in me, and I've never forgotten. It's that every spring we all kind of overdo it way too quickly and never really seem to learn from it. So if you're going out for a 7-hour Pokemon walk, even though it's shiny Carvanha Day and this only happens once a year, you're still outdoors taking in the sunshine for 7 hours. I'm very proud of myself that I was wearing a visor. I'm embraced the visor, y'all. Minivan visor. I am in it. I got the visor going, and I wore long sleeves the whole time, mainly because I didn't want to get sunburned again, but I still managed to get sunburned on my neck over here. I don't know if it shows up so much, but you can see there's some real painful patches. So all of that means that, like, I'm a little tired because I was in the sun all day. So on your rest day, as long as you aren't totally draining your tank, that's good. Go for it, because this is the logic. Oh, it's not a big deal. I can be out here all day long as long as the effort isn't high. But if your exposure is really high, let's keep it reasonable. This is might not on the rest, which is not to say you can't do a 6-hour hike on your rest day, but that doesn't sound very restful. I'm not saying you can't go rollerblading with your kids, but if rollerblading with your kids is anything like rollerblading with mine, that's a 4-hour extravaganza, and that's the opposite of rest. So it's all something to think about. Yeah, that first full sunny day is really exhausting, especially if you have an autoimmune condition like Aaron and I do. I have celiac. Aaron has Crohn's. It's not always a whole lot of fun. So can you go out more? Yes, but be cognizant and be careful and be strategic. So if you can go out for that walk on your rest day, the times that I like to do it is in the morning. I feed everyone breakfast and I go out the door, or in the evening, I get everyone down and then I go out the door. And I love, if you follow me on Strava, you've probably seen, I'm going to end on this note, that the 9 years I've been married, I've had a husband who traveled for work. So I'd forgotten how much I loved evening walks back when I was single. And for the first time in almost actually over a decade, I have made the evening walk part of my ritual again, and I love it. And I take photos of the sun setting whenever I can. I've been posting them to Strava too. So something like that is it's a good way to get out of the house, to clear my brain. I'm probably going to do another one. I'll go down and eat, kiss kids goodnight, and then go out for another walk later tonight. But there are all kinds of ways that you can do this that are not exposing you to more, that are filling your cup instead of draining your tank. And so as long as what you are doing serves that purpose and doesn't wipe you out so much that you're sunburned and exhausted and hurting the next day, and if you are, so what? If it's worth it, that's fine. It is totally fine. All I care about is this: if your Sunday ends up being a big day of exposure and drainage, it was probably worth it if you had fun. But when you feel like crap on Monday, remember the fun. Don't feel bad about yourself like, oh, I blew my rest day, because that's not the point. You got exactly what you needed, and maybe you just walk instead of run on Monday. That's all. So keep it all in perspective and know that everything is fine as long as you're listening to your body, and you're not going too hog wild in the sun without hopefully long sleeves and sunscreen. There you go. Oh, I forgot to turn off my notifications over here. Sorry, y'all. So, yeah, long walks, easy bike rides, all that sort of thing is really great. I mean, I got no problem with any of it. You have emphasized the importance of the combination of the Friday stride sandwich followed by the Saturday long run. Why is this pairing important? It's important in marathon training. It's not that it's unimportant the rest of the time. It's just sort of when we're in a marathon situation or we're preparing for a marathon, this is something I kind of borrowed from ultra training way back when. I felt like it made me bulletproof and really resilient in a way that no training plan ever could. So as soon as I sat down and started writing my own training plans, that was one of the first elements that went back in, the Friday, Saturday long run sandwich. Before that, I think what the standard had been Monday through Thursday, Friday off, Saturday long run, Sunday off. And I never really liked that. Like, why are you making the Saturday run so easy? Then that's not really setting you up for success on marathon day. So if you're like, I have no intention of running a marathon ever, cool. You don't need to do the Friday, Saturday long run sandwich. If you're the sort of person that cares at all about your half marathon performance, you are increasing the odds of performance improving over time, again, for a variety of reasons, by keeping the sandwich together. But is it important outside of a racing situation? Arguably no, unless you really need the trump card to get out the house, in which case, yes, it is the most important thing you could ever do. You must do it. If anyone asks, you say your coach says you have to, or you're throwing the money away. So they need to leave you alone and let you go out the door. I fit nicely under buses, guys. Put me there if that's what you need to do to be the trump card when you're negotiating how time is going to be divided between you and your partner when it comes to childcare. Getting what you need can start and end with a run. This really is self-care. It's not supposed to be about pressure. So if we were still thinking about racing right now, but yes, long run sandwich. Outside of that, I'm not saying these things don't matter, but you've got to remember, if you've worked with me in the past, and this question did reference the past, that was a very specific ask. People didn't just come to work with me. They signed up for a race and an event and then a training program. So on some level, I was constantly being evaluated by your performance. If you didn't get the performance you want, then my training plan didn't work, or my ideas didn't work, or I failed. And I don't like being in that position, and I don't like others putting themselves in that position. If this isn't the best day ever, then you suck and I suck. That's ridiculous. And I don't see that as positive or helpful or healthy at all. But that's what the entire industry does, not where I used to work specifically. But this is it. That's all there is. That's why I started Fitness Protection, was to have a different way in, a different way to think about this, a different way to approach it, a different way to engage with people, and a different way to coach them. So in the past, yeah, those are race situations. And if that's the standard against which I'm being judged, you better do that Friday, Saturday long run sandwich. Because if you didn't do that consistently and you didn't get the marathon you wanted, then we're going to have to start with what you didn't do before we start with this is why you suck, Coach MK. And I got that a lot. So if I seem a little touchy, that's why. Does it matter here in this context? No, but this is why I started my company. So the things we do would have less pressure associated with them. We're just here running. The long run sandwich is really terrific, but it's not a mandate. Nothing on the training plan is a mandate beyond taking care of yourself and making time to take care of yourself. I don't care if you do your run today or tomorrow or not. I care if you carve out 30 to 60 minutes of detaching, unplugging, and not being mom or dad or someone's employer or someone's manager or managing distance learning. I care that you get a little time away from all of that, specifically out of the house, to yourself with no goal attached to it. I would much rather you have one thing in your life that hustle culture and diet culture cannot touch, telling you that what you did was worthless and that you should do more. That's crap. And I don't like it, and you deserve better. So that's how I feel about that. That pairing is important in getting you resilient and replicating the fatigue you will feel at the end of a race, an endurance event that we would expect to take 2 or more hours. Any event that is 2 hours or less, I don't even put the long run sandwich in there. But I leave it in here because I wanted you guys to have the option to race all year long and to only need 10 weeks to ramp up for a marathon. So that's why it's in there. You can take what you want, leave the rest. In following Susan's terrific multi-day event this weekend, she talks about putting her legs up the wall. Could you elaborate on why this is helpful? Sure. It's when you spend that much time on your feet, they're gonna take a beating. They're gonna be pounding the pavement, quite literally. They're probably gonna get swollen. So by putting them up the wall, you are using gravity to help bring all that stuff back into your bursa sacs and into your hips. It's also going to have the tissue. It's gonna effectively feel really nice. It's better than just sort of laying down, because when you're laying back up, you're getting the stimulation in the central nervous system and in your legs without actually doing the work required to keep having fresh oxygen delivered continuously to the muscles, making them the top of the priority list. Remember, when your body's in motion, then the muscles can use up to 84% of the free-flowing oxygen in your bloodstream. The minute you stop and you're no longer in motion, then the muscles are no longer the priority vital organs are. So when we're lying up the wall, we're sort of cheating a little bit. We're tricking your body into thinking it's doing work that it isn't actually doing. So you get some of the repair, and it comes a lot more quickly without having to do the work. Plus, it just feels really nice. It's not something I do on the regular, but for something like poor Susan's been doing, in ultra situations or multi-day event type of situations, it's a really good idea just to get some immediate relief before you go stick your feet in the kiddie pool full of ice and beer. I'm new to the group. I just ran a virtual half. Yay! Congratulations. If I continue with the maintained training schedule, can I really run a half marathon by the end of August, September, just by following that schedule? No. You can run one at the end of June. No lie. You don't need 12 weeks to get ready for a marathon or a half marathon when you maintain. The way that we do, we keep the mileage high. We keep, it works. We keep the time on your feet high, which works out to the mileage being high. We want to take a break and really sort of let our body recover from the last event, and then wind it back up again, and you'll be good to go. And if you have more detailed questions on that, I'm totally happy to come in and do another live stream this week. If there are more people in build doing halves or fulls over the summer, we can talk a little bit more about that in depth, and I'm open to exploring that. I'm excited to have all the new people in here. But yeah, if you're ready now, the whole idea of maintain is that we don't lose the fitness that have been built in previous training cycles. We keep leveraging them. So when you don't stop and you don't burn up and you don't burn out, it's really amazing what you can build and maintain. Sorry, I know that's a little confusing, but the pun was intended. All right, here are the questions for build at 11 minutes past the hour. Are the daily prompts the best place to ask questions as we go? I think I covered that a little earlier. No, the daily prompts not in Training Peaks, but in Facebook, yes. If for an immediate question that you need an answer to, that is the fastest way to get an answer. This is another way that I like hearing the questions and interacting with you guys. So there's never a bad thing. The least efficient way to try to get an answer is to email me, because that can get buried. Things that are really important get buried. I get about 700 emails a day, you guys. And it's really hard to go through everything. It's a nightmare, to be perfectly honest. It's one of the reasons why I had a conversation with someone the other day. They're like, you don't take vacation? I'm like, I can't. I mean, I can unplug, but I can't ever spending more than 3 hours away from my email stresses me out, because I'm constantly cleaning and handle or hand off is the policy. I'm either handling what comes in, or I'm handing it off to somebody else, or I'm deleting all the rest. And there's just a lot that I have to stay on top of. So yes, the Facebook group is the fastest way to get an answer. And then the other way is the way to get an answer directly from me in this format, where you can come and ask follow-up questions, is here in Ask the Coach. I follow the Training Peaks running schedule, right? But I don't run on Sundays, so I swap the Sunday run with another day. Am I going to be totally off from everyone and maintain? Who cares? Why does it matter? I don't think it does. I'm following the Facebook post, and what I'm doing isn't always matching. If that's fine with you, it's fine with us. We don't really care. Most people modify it. And over time, you haven't seen this yet because you're in build and people are still in that mindset where they're very, very compliant. But in the other Facebook groups, part of the fun of the daily thread is seeing what everyone else is doing that day. I'd say maybe 40% are doing the plan as written, and everyone else will go in the daily thread and say, here's what I did today and here's why. And that's the real fun part of this program. It's the engagement and seeing what everybody else, you really get to know the people around you and what they have going on. And that's where the bonding really starts to happen. Right now, to you, it feels like reporting and accountability. And I promise you, that's not what it is. It's support and it's validation the further down the pike you go with us and with this. So yeah, you're by no means behind and you're not doing anything wrong. How do I adjust for increases in workout time on feet if I haven't kept up with what was on the schedule in the past 2 weeks? You don't overthink it. You really, really don't. It's not about perfect compliance as much as it is about understanding when to not overdo it. We don't look back. We don't make up workouts, and we don't worry about what we missed. That's another reason I haven't spent a whole lot of time. I know you guys had the dog run workout this past week, and some people were really stressed that they didn't understand all the moves enough to be able to do it. I want you to kind of sit with that feeling and say, why? Why is this bothering me? I mean, yes, obviously I have this is written, I must do this is written. My answer is why? Were you really going to get up and do? I mean, this is a really embarrassing workout to do in public, and I don't expect anyone to do it. I just it's always fun when people do, and I think it's a lot of fun. But most people are be like, I am not going to jog for 10 minutes and then get on the ground and do 10 mountain climbers and then get up and jog some more and do high knees and then I'm not doing that. And that's valid. One, I just kind of wanted to see what level of discomfort you would have, not only with a workout like that, but with not following the workout as written. For some people, it makes them really, really angry, mad at me, mad at this, mad at themselves. And that's information. And again, it's not like I'm specifically trying to make you angry, but what I'm trying to do is challenge anything that makes you feel. If you got up and you did something, what in the world makes you think you're behind? Let's celebrate what you did. Don't worry about what you missed, and really make this what you need it to be today. That's the best I can do to empower you, rather than hold you accountable. Everything that I see in the fitness industry, and I'm going to end on this, is really gross, and it's predicated upon the assumption that the client base isn't where they want to be because they're lazy and unmotivated and can't be bothered. Well, you know what? When I'm working with people who think that I'm lazy, unmotivated, and can't be bothered, then I am really unmotivated and can't be bothered to interact with them, show up, or do whatever it is they think they need me to do. I work better with people who are like, oh, MK, have you seen what she brings to the table? It's really cool. Let's make sure she's incentivized to not suck. And that starts with me not sucking. Amazing. So I'm giving you the thing that I wish I had had in every workplace I've ever been in, the thing that I wish I had had in most of the relationships that I had with coaches and personal trainers in the past. And it's the trust that you're here, that you're an adult who is competent, who is tenacious AF, who needs more strength than I'll ever know to get through each day. And if you're not compliant with the plan, that's not a sign that you're a loser. That's a sign that you're a boss, that you're being a boss somewhere else in your life and you understand priorities. And the fact that you're still here making time for yourself, making self-care happen for you is amazing. And I don't care if it's 30 minutes with mountain climbers in it or an hour of walking and playing Pokemon Go. What I care about is that you are showing up for you and you feel empowered to do that in any way you need. So how do we account for the extra time on the feet? You don't worry about it. You see what's on the plan and you ask yourself, okay, today I has dog run. I'm going to do that today. Cool. Or today's dog run. I ain't doing that. Avocado toast. And that right there is the process I really want to make automatic with you guys, because it's not about you doing something wrong. I didn't do what you said to do, coach. I don't care. You made a choice. You listened to your body and you made an empowered choice. And if your body is saying, I don't want the neighbors to see me doing this, then that is you protecting your mental health in a way that most workplaces and fitness places will not do. Have you seen The Biggest Loser? Have you seen what they make people do? You do not have to apologize to the world for the body that you live in. I don't mind doing mountain climbers in public. I think it's kind of funny because, like, tell you what, the one time you do that is the last time some of my neighbors are talking to me. And so it makes it easy to introvert in public. People won't look at me in the eye when I'm doing crazy stuff on a run. So let me tell you how crazy some of my runs get whenever people start getting real friendly. That's another gift to you. Introverting in public is something you're going to hear me talk about a lot because I do it. Don't think anyone saw us. My grandson tells us we were crazy. You know what? Great. Don't mess with the crazy person. Don't mess with the crazy old woman. When you see a woman doing mountain climbers in the woods, offer her water, smile, and stay away. It's great. It's great. You cannot lose. It's all about your attitude. You can't lose. You can't fail. And you're by no means behind. So if you haven't kept up with the schedule, great. If you kept up with yourself, cool. You should be okay to be out for 30 minutes on your feet in whatever form. And if that means there's 40 minutes on the schedule, see how you feel in 30. And if you want to go for 10 more, fine. But check in with your body. Don't worry about the training plan. The training plan, see that as permission or a suggestion. If there's 45 minutes there, do 30, do 20 and see how that feels. And if you want to keep going, you can. But if you're already like, nah, listen to that. Does that make sense? I know that's really non-specific, but if I give you 30 minutes, there's no good reason to extend it for an hour in build or rebuild. But if it says 45 and you want to do 60, just be really gentle with yourself as to how you add that last 15 minutes. And if you want more than that, to extend it past 60 minutes, let's talk. Because I try to keep single sessions 90 minutes or less, because beyond that, you're kind of maxed out all the benefits from the workout. And the law of diminishing returns kicks in about 20 minutes in. So not to say you get nothing after 20 minutes. It's not true. It's increasing at an increasing rate up until 20 minutes. And then it's logarithmic, not exponential. That's me drawing. It's me doing algebra and drawing a chart. So it's logarithmic, not exponential. What are penguin kicks? I'm going to show you later, but that is, so not like the penguin walks in the warm up, but you're kind of standing with your feet out and kicking with straight legs. I'm going to come demonstrate it in the room in a little bit later, but they're really fun and I like them a lot because they're hard and they really wake up. So this is one the reason that the penguin kicks are in there is because they do wake up your glute min and your glute med, and you need those on a run. So if there's one move I could beg you to do in public on the dog run, it's this one, because once you've activated these muscles with the penguin kick, it will make your form better and more efficient for the duration of the run. Not everything is in there just because I want to see if you can do it. Some of these are actually worth doing. If there's only, and I'm going to give you that whole spiel once I go in there and go live in there in a few minutes. Right now, I'm not spending much time running because my heart rate is so high above 140. As I continue to follow the program, will I be able to run more because my heart rate will go down a bit? Yes, this is fitness. So what happens in the beginning is that most people come here and they keep running the way they've been running and whatever pace they think running is, and their heart rate shoots up to like 170, and then they have to walk. And then they run again, and then they have to walk again. And then, so I say, well, hey, let's go back and look at the average pace on that last workout. So while I was running, 10s, okay, yeah, but your heart rate shot up to 172 when you were at 10s. So let's look at your average heart rate for the whole hour. What was it? Oh, it was a 14-minute mile. Okay. Tomorrow, aim for 14-minute miles and see if you can do that without stopping. And then they come back and they say, wow, yes, actually I can. And that is kind of the sweet spot where you'll start to see the logarithmic and first exponential, then logarithmic changes over time, where the benefits start to come hard and fast, because that is the metalysis happening. Your body using oxygen and metabolizing oxygen for fuel. That is the cardiovascular fitness that my dad was told to go get after his quintuple bypass. And this is what we're passing on to you. We are building a strong, unfuckwithable, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, a cardiovascular system. And that comes when you're metabolizing 100% oxygen and not some piece glucose. So that's another reason for the super low heart rate. It's to make sure that you are metabolizing only oxygen when you go out there for each jog. And you will get faster over time. You'll get more efficient over time as you get stronger and as your cardiovascular system becomes more efficient. Yes. How long is it going to take is a different question to ask because there's so many factors. But do hang in there. It's one of the reasons I asked everyone to buy in for a minimum of 3 months. Did my first avocado run this Saturday morning. No accelerators. Easy effort by any definition. Our average heart rate was 105, peaked at 130. Look at you. By the evening, my knees hurt quite a bit, especially with stairs. What gives? Okay, so if you weren't doing accelerators and your knees were hurting quite a bit, my first go-to would be what were your IT bands doing and were your glutes coming into play. So if your glutes weren't recruiting, or if the shoes that you're running in are a little bit old, that would absolutely do it. But let's talk a little bit offline if I'm going to come in the rebuild. If you will be there when I come in the build group. After I finish this broadcast, I'm going to kiss my kids goodnight and then come back in here to demonstrate penguin kicks. And when I do meet, and let's talk that out a little bit, because there are a couple of factors. Generally speaking, you probably were not overloading your knees. But if we were using something in a different way and your glutes weren't recruiting or coming to play, then this could happen. And if this was happening without proper support under your arches, that could be the combination that caused this to happen. But let's talk it through. That's my gut, but I need a little more information. Hi, Coach MK. If life gets in the way and we can only get 4 runs in for the week, should we be prioritizing certain ones because they're easier, a dog run because there's 2, or an avocado toast? What if we can only get 3 runs in? No, I really want you guys to get away from that type of thinking that some runs are more important than others. Some runs are more important than others in a performance type of training cycle, but we are here for fitness. We are building a habit. We are building a routine. We are building a hobby that is also a sport, that is also a way to change our narrative about our self-identity and restructure certain parts of our life. Hopefully, we're also building a new attitude and adopting a new attitude towards our body and towards the things that our body can do. So to that end, that steps away from the hierarchy of these are the good workouts and these are the junk miles, because the things that people have cut are exactly the things you've come here to learn. How to run easy effort. And that, yes, it does have value, and yes, it does matter. So the only way we're going to get there faster if we're moving away from that. Whatever you missed, aim for what's on the schedule that day, or avocado toast if you don't want to do what's on the schedule that day, and don't worry about it. Very seriously. It's that easy. And who cares if you can get through 3 runs in, celebrate the 3 that you did. I don't care if you get 2, again, because we're not in a performance-based training cycle where at the end of this, you're going to use the finish time to judge whether or not I'm good at my job or this plan worked for you. Right now, we're trying to develop a habit. We're doing the best we can in a global pandemic. And I know I don't need to remind you of that. But at the same time, if you could get 3 runs in, I know we got people in this room right now. They get 3, they're doctors and they're nurses on the front lines. If they can get 3 runs in, they're excited. And they're excited for what they could do and that they were able to take care of themselves. And I'm excited for them. I like situations where I can't lose, because why would you pick anything else? Right? Like there are a lot of challenges in my life. There are a lot of challenging things I have to maneuver every day. I'm not here trying to do everything the hard way, because the hard way is the best way. That's how a lot of people hit burnout in the first place. So I tell you that to tell you this. Avocado toast isn't sexy, but it's everything that you need. So if you're getting everything that you need, that's all that matters. Let's stop saying which runs are more important than the others and which people are more important than the others, and just celebrate the self-care when we're able to get it and not worry about what it's going to produce later. Because when we're worried about the production, that's when the hierarchy comes into play, and we threw all that out the door when we got here to maximize health and maximize options for racing. And whether or not you race in the fall will have nothing to do with what you do, whether you do 3 runs or four runs this week or for the next 4 weeks. What are the important factors to keep in mind when buying a pair of running shoes? Do I hate them? Honestly, the thing about the way we have, and by we, I mean, like, you got to remember, I lived outside the United States for a really long time. And there are some things that that changed while I was gone, or maybe they've always been this way and I just didn't notice them because I was young. But there are some way things are done that I've never completely understood. And one of them is how we make decisions. Americans want the best of everything. I want the best, the best, the best. And we aren't, because of that, and that's such a finite metric. There can only be one best. And how do you know when you have it? So there's a lack of certainty in the things that we pick and the choices we make, because I wanted the best. What if I got number 2? What if I find out tomorrow that it was number 4? Now you hate your purchase. And I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If I'm putting money down for something, I want to be happy with it. What do I need to get is the question I ask myself before I go into any situation. So the most important factors to keep in mind when buying running shoes, what do I need to get? It's not the best, because the best is relative. It's not like the newest or the coolest, because that's all relative and subjective as well. What I'd say, what do I need to get? I need to get shoes that I don't hate, that don't hurt, and that are in my budget. And if you don't have a budget and you don't know where to start, congratulations. You don't need to worry about that. You just go in there and think about, what do you want to get? I work closely with physical therapist Alex Lant, and you guys are going to get to meet him later. And he has never seen me run. I think one time maybe he came to the track and saw me do a loop, but he has never seen me run. And he's treated me for 7 years now. So I think that most gait analyses are bollocks. They're a good way to sell shoes. and they're being conducted by people who work in a run store and not even in a physical therapy clinic. So again, with the band of trying, now, not to say that like it's anyone who tries to sell you one is a dummy and like you just don't need to talk to them. Not so. But I feel like there's been this huge overemphasis on it that's made because we want you to have the best and we want you to feel sure that you have the best. So we're going to do this thing to make you sure of that purchase until you walk out the door and start questioning it all over again. There's something really icky about it. Whereas you can put those shoes on your feet, go for a jog around the store or jump on the treadmill in the store, and you can know within a few minutes whether or not you like those shoes. So I would kind of start there. Those really are the most important factors. Here are the others. And I know that these concepts, I'm rolling my eyes because they're going to be twisted and thrown back at me because they always are. Form is a function of strength. The fitter you are, the stronger your hips, the stronger your glute min and your glute med, the less of a problem your pronation will be. I have a pancake foot. I do not have two of the tendons required to form an arch in either of my feet, and this has never been a problem for me. The body adapts and shifts beautifully. Most of the top marathoners in the world also pronate and have the same condition that I do. Which is not to say that I could be one of the top marathoners in the world, but rather it hasn't held them back or me. So if they're selling you a shoe that is a stability shoe because you're pronating, the question then becomes, what is that telling me? That my ankles are dumping inwards because I have weak feet and weak hips? Then we need to also focus on strengthening your feet and your hips, which is why I ask everybody to do our strength series barefoot to really engage the entire kinetic chain the whole way up. So if you're already in a neutral shoe, that's fine and great. But in past years, it's become a thing like stability shoes are better. When stability shoes are a shoe that don't let your feet move freely, and there's an inhibiting factor there. So, and it's not like they're bad, don't touch them, but remember what they're doing. I wore stability shoes for a while after each of my pregnancies, and my goal was to get strong enough to get out of those clodhoppers and back into my favorite shoes as quickly as possible. Not to say that should be yours. Your goals are your goals. And if you're comfortable in your stability shoes, fantastic. But just remember, stability shoes exist to offset something, usually strength, further up the kinetic chain. And so if you're not working on strength, then eventually those stability shoes are going to catch up to you. Final words on this. When you think about the factors in mind, what we're doing right now, we are training. We are changing your body. Whether you're running 2 days a week or 7 days a week, we are changing your mind, your outlook, your perspective, and your body. And that starts and ends with your feet. You're going to be spending a lot of time on your feet. So back in the beginning of this broadcast, I said that people tend to think of their body as this static thing. I am blonde. I am a stability shoe person. I pronate. And we forget that what we're trying to do most of the time is strengthen our bodies, increase our efficiency, which is effectively changing our bodies. So don't think about it like this is my shoe, but rather this shoe fit. This is the need I have as a runner. This shoe fits this need. Let's see what I need 6 months from now and be open to that. That's how I would go about it. I like to think about how my long runs are going to be. The longer the runs I'm planning, more work I need the shoes to do because my body gets tired. Yeah. Like I was saying to Susan earlier, the shoes that she needs at the beginning of this multi-day challenge is probably very different than the shoes she's going to want tonight, tomorrow, or towards the end. So think of it that way. It's not that you need to have specifically like 5 different pairs of running shoes unless you want them. Then by all means, your coach said you got to go buy 5 pairs of running shoes. Yes, you do. But it's good to have a variety. I probably have more variety than most would. Some would say it's excessive, and I'm good with that too. But rather, just think about what you need and what your body needs in that moment and try to meet that need with your shoes, but don't ever ignore your feet. Ever. Think of it. Your feet are not static. It's not like this is the shoe, this is the solution. Once you start, we can never not pay attention to our feet. Ever. It's really important. Another one of the modules that we're going to be doing later in Build is all about feet. Coach Nikki and I are going to be recording it the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to share it with you. So it starts there. This is one of the more important decisions that you'll make. Feel free to buy 2 pairs. That's not invalid. If you go and you can't decide between 2, get them both, and you'll learn over time. What should I do if my running partner has a very different heart rate than I do? Mine is always faster than hers. How can we train together? Well, how is that translating to pace? So if your heart rate, if you are staying under the cap, and the cap slows you down, is she willing to slow down with you? I'd say, like, just if you could just explain to her what you're doing and why. I'm trying this new thing. It's really cool. I tell her the benefits. I feel better when I do this. I really do. Please, this one day a week that we run together, do it with me. I guess I need a little bit more context. So if she has a very different heart rate, really, what do you want to do with that? Her heart rate's higher. Does she want to slow down and use the cap? And that would be slowing you down, and you don't want that. Let's kind of talk that through a little bit more, because I feel like I don't really have enough information. I would like for the two of you to get on the same page. Or if this is only one run a week, I don't want you to stop enjoying that run because of this program. Like, we can pick one day and just say, you know what, if you really want to run it her way, cool. But for now, again, I don't really have enough information to sort of help you sort through all the options. But if we could find a way to get both of you under 140 and not hating it and enjoying the time you spend together, that would really be the ideal, because that's what you're here to do. So, but if that's not possible, let's find ways to work it in without beating you up or breaking you down. My feet keep cramping while I run. What can I do about it? That's a function of a couple of things. So cramps are neurological, meaning that they're from your central nervous system. So in the past, we've talked about, not we, but the chatter, if you were to Google it, is going to say, oh, cramps have something to do with electrolyte imbalance. There's some truth to that, like maybe a Charlie horse or a stitch in your side can have something to do with hydration, but not in your feet specifically. I would be looking at hydration levels. I would be asking myself, like, how much water have I been having? How much time did I spend outside today? Have I been on my feet a lot already? That's so you sort of take stock of what you've been doing. Because in that moment when you have a cramp, the best thing you can do is put as much pressure on it as possible. Like, you feel that your feet just stand right up, and that'll, as counterintuitive, you feel your feet curling up, you want to straighten it out, and that's gonna and it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna end the cramp a whole lot faster than trying to like go within and rub it out. Like, it's not intuitive, but it's what you need to do. So if that's happening while you're running, the first thing to go to, I'd be like, how are you shod? Maybe we need to move up this foot lesson. Are you wearing big thick socks and big thick cushioned shoes? Because that combination can be pretty bad for feet. Even though it feels like, but I'm on my feet a lot, I'm running a lot, this is what I need to do. I'm like, we can work towards thinner and less. We don't, all of that together can be very good, or it can be very not good. So with foot cramps, I would start there with, again, it's neurological. If we're doing something new, it's potentially hydration. And it's also potentially that you've overdone it for that given day, especially if you work in a profession where you spend a lot of time on your feet. I need a little bit more information there to kind of be able to talk it out, which is why I come here and do these live, so that I can ask you a bunch of follow-up questions to get you the best possible answer, even though I know this isn't always possible for people to sit through all this for 2 hours on a Sunday night. Yeah, I need more information to give you a really good answer, but that's kind of where I would start. Not by adding like salt into absolutely everything, or making like Noon and some of the more hardcore energy drinks. I wouldn't necessarily start there. Just plain old water is good. Adding a little bit of vitamin C, lemon juice to it is really good too. Hey, coach, I'm attempting to rebuild as I recover from injuries. Right now, I'm walking with very little shuffling during mid-run if I feel up to it. It's perfect. My question is, if I feel a little twinge of injury coming back, what's the best thing to do? Stop and walk. But it really kind of depends on the injury. But my gut says stop and walk. I have a little knee pain and tendon pain in the left foot. If I feel it while out, I always slow down immediately. But if my tendon is sore the next day, should I skip or go anyway and keep it very, very easy walking or something else? I've also gained a substantial amount of weight during time off, not helping. So there's that too. So there's a lot kind of to unpack here. So, I mean, when it comes to the tendons, the things that cause tendon degradation, overdoing it. So if you think of your tendons like a rubber band, they can lose the elasticity, and we don't really want that to happen. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Trying to keep up with the comments too. So when So your tendons are like a rubber band, and they can lose elasticity, and the elasticity does not come back. So we want to avoid the overstrain. This really is more of a question for your PT, though, since I'm not as familiar with the injuries and I don't want to lead you astray. Coming down and walking never sounds like a bad option, especially with the tendon pain in your foot. When it comes to the knee pain, I need to know a little bit more about where's it causing, what's causing it, if that's patellar tendonitis that you've had in the past, if that's your glutes not recruiting and so your knees are taking the beating that your glutes were meant to take. There could be a lot there, but it sounds like your instinct is really good as to slow down. Whether or not you need to take the next day off entirely, though, that's a question for your physical therapist, though, who knows a little bit more about your injury specifically than I would. And I'm sorry I can't be more specific than that, but I can't think of it. Like me personally, if I could walk the next day, I would, but I'm a person that's like, if I can't get out, I do. So let's start there. Ask if you could just put a call into your physical therapist office and ask them what they think that would be the best place to start. But I'm not one to like randomly assign days off if what we need is to keep walking through it. And I wouldn't be so quick to blame the weight. Weight gain is only a problem if a whole lot happens too quickly. That can put a lot of stress on your joints. I know this because I took diclegis to help with morning sickness during my 4th pregnancy, which is really, really bad. And I gained 30 pounds in 3 weeks. That crushed my joints. That hurt my feet. That threw my whole body off in a way that took a year and a half to recover from after the baby was born. That if you haven't gained, if your weight gain hasn't been drug induced and that severe and that quick, which is not about the 30 pounds. It's about the 30 pounds. It's about 10 pounds a week over 3 weeks. Like that's too much. And I'm a small person. So it was too much for my frame in general. If I gained 30 pounds any other way, it would probably not have been as much of a problem as it was to gain it in 3 weeks. So if you had a super rapid weight gain like that, tell your doctor. Reverse, if you lost that much weight that quickly, that will hurt your joints. Tell your doctor. Rapid weight loss is every bit as dangerous as rapid weight gain. But if this has been a very gradual thing over the course of 3 months, it's probably not the problem. It really isn't. And I know that we like to beat ourselves up for these sorts of things, but I promise whatever's going on right now is probably not correlated to the weight. And we're going to talk more about that in the coming weeks when we talk about the dangers of running while overweight. And I bring all the doctors in to talk about fat phobia in medicine. There are a lot of myths that, whatever's wrong has to do with your weight, and they're just not true. So during the warm up and cool down, my slowest jog still has a heart rate that hovers between 150, 160, as slow as I can go without starting to look like those crazy speed walkers whose feet never leave the ground. Those people are magic, right? But I could definitely maintain that jog for a long time, maintain a conversation. It doesn't feel like a struggle. Should I be walking instead to keep the heart rate under 140? I would try to walk the first 10 minutes and walk the last 10 minutes. And then in between, kind of give yourself that break. So we are spending time in the lower zones where we are metabolizing the oxygen. So I feel you on feeling ridiculously slow. And maintaining conversation is not a big deal. So I'm not going to tell you that you have to walk. I'll give you permission to kind of stay there for the first month or so of this program and see if that doesn't get better over time as you get stronger. Because again, at the end of the day, though it's not like I'm giving you a separate rule from everyone else. The worst thing, the thing that we can't fix, is if we get you in a mental hole, embarrassed to go out the doors, hating your run, not looking forward to it. That's the opposite of what I want to do here. And if I'm going to make you walk all of your runs, we're going to get to that place I don't want to be really quickly. So let's start that this week. If it's a 30-minute run, we're going to split it into thirds. First 10 minutes of the warm-up, last 10 minutes of the cool down, that 10 minutes in the middle, you do you, trying to keep your heart rate low as possible and still be moving. My final thought on this is that a lot of optical sensors in heart rate watches suck. Especially if you have bony little wrists like I do. And I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, like you can see. So theoretically, those optical sensors can see the blood pumping and take my pulse that way. And they're bad at it. So a lot of the time, the number that comes up when I'm not wearing the heart rate strap, and I couldn't wear it for a while, that's a long story. But I also had to get my watch replaced. And there for about 3 months, I just ran with the power meter on my foot, and I didn't pay any attention to the heart rate because it was inaccurate no matter what I did. And here's the kicker. When it was inaccurate, what it was reading was my cadence. So it would tell me that my heart rate was 166 when I knew it was definitely closer to like 146. Like it's a little over, but not that over. So that could be a possibility too. So think about that. If you're especially, this is more notorious in the Garmin and in the higher end optical sensors. If you're not, so I'm not saying like thou shalt wear a strap, but rather be open to, it's a known flaw. It's a known bug, and it's been around for years, since 2013. I still can't believe they brought this to market with this big a flaw that they have not been able to fix. But it could be the output you're looking at might be cadence instead of heart rate. That's entirely possible. So try it with the heart rate strap if you have that as an option, and see if you get the same read. Last question. Thank you for your patience. Should we be doing any specific stretches after runs? I had very tight calves after my first EC30 this week, but not after the dog run. Am I landing with the wrong part of my foot, or is my body just getting used to running? I have always hesitated. I'm sorry, I got to take these off there. Oh, it's longer. They're beautiful. They sparkle, but clip-ons get to me after a while. So I have a really hard time assigning stretches, and here's why. Runners, people who gravitate towards distance running tend to be very goal oriented. They are very by the book sort of rule followers, and they like seeing they overachieve. So if I say, hold a stretch for 20 seconds, they're going to get into the furthest possible iteration of the stretch and hold it for 40 seconds. And I know this because I can't do yoga here. I did yoga for years when I lived abroad. Every yoga class I've done in the States has stressed me out, where it feels like it's a competition. The people next to you are like looking at you and competing, or like you get into your position and I look up to check in the mirror and I can see people like adjusting to go a little further. And it's a very weird thing. So knowing that there is a little bit of competition and always that question in your head, if you could do more, why aren't you? Where I've seen stretches go the wrong way. Something as simple as a quad stretch. I swear I watched a person, I think, tear up the burst sacs in their knee, like just ripping the cartilage. Like, you're not stretching your quad right now. You're hurting your knee. Because they pulled it all the way back, like trying to see if they could get their quad. And it's like something that should be this, they were turning into like this. And it was really unnatural and really painful to watch. So knowing that, after watching that, I stopped assigning stretches. Now, for your calves, you can absolutely do some great stuff. Do the heel drops on your stairs. The B calf raises are wonderful. You can't do too many of those. Just make sure you're rolling over the ball of your feet and that your ankles aren't sinking inward like I demonstrated. But yeah, you can stretch your calves there. You can lean against the wall and press your leg back and get that nice long calf stretch. That's good. But this is also partially, you're right, it is partially getting your muscles used to doing this motion for the first time. It's not something to worry about. Calf stretches are good, but more is not necessarily better. So I'd be really careful before going in and adding a whole stretching routine. That is the reason why I don't assign them. Everything is good till it isn't anymore. And I can prescribe foam rolling, which is what I'm going to do next week. I can show you how to foam roll and make yourself feel better without tearing anything up, or create a system that hedges against your worst instincts to do more in a way that would hurt you rather than help you. I have not yet found the ideal way to do that with stretching, because everything I've ever assigned, I've watched people hurt themselves trying to execute it. So there we go. That's all the questions for this week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so patient. I wonder how Susan is doing. If she feels like saying hi, I might bring her back on into this group later. But for now, you are coached. You are loved. If you're asking questions at all, then I promise you are winning at life. Thank you for playing Ask Away with Coach MK. I love talking to you guys. I would do this every week. It's my favorite part of the week, to be perfectly honest. I love you. Are easy to coach. You are easier to love. Go have an amazing, amazing week. I'm going to go have my nighttime walk.